Hi, welcome back to Healing Pathwalkers. I'm Jessie Dujari. I'm so excited to be here with you today. It's just going to be me today. We had our guest of today not feeling well, and I was going to not record, and then I thought, I have a story of my own awakening. I wanted to share that with you. And as you read earlier, just a moment ago, I started Healing Pathwalkers. Um, and I guess the first thing I want to share is what my story, what my dream of Healing Pathwalkers is. Since you're here, since you found your way to me, since you're curious, since you're here. So, Healing Pathwalkers for me is a place where people come. They come and they light their own torch in whatever way they can that is blazing light in the darkness that other people find themselves lost in, including themselves. So I got this. This first came to me when I was really first awakening with my teacher, when I first started doing healing work, and when I first started feeling energy and experiencing these other realms of consciousness and other realities and experiences that you usually dismiss as fantasy or illusions. And I was in a meditation, and I kept feeling like I was having these dark energies coming around me. And when you first start to awaken and become aware of energy, if you have a fear-based mentality, which I did, my belief system was entirely based on fear. You start to fear things, and you interpret things that come to you through that lens, proving your fear true. So for me, I felt like all these negative dark energies were coming and just tripping everything up and causing all these problems, and everything was just such a struggle. And I kept feeling like I was being observed. And of course, that's just becoming aware of the truth that we're always being observed, which many of you probably already come to it. If you haven't, well, it's coming. um, so yeah, basically, it was in this state. I was in a meditation, and I felt like I could palpably touch, taste, and feel like all around me this blackness, this darkness. And it was so pungent in the air that I I needed to like expand myself just to give myself some breathing room. And when I had that thought, I just kind of blazed a little bit brighter. And I could see my rays of light kind of, scattering out around me. And I could feel a path that I was on. And I just knew I had to take one step and then another step and then another step, and that was really all I could do. As I had this meditation, I was I was always feeling this connection to the rest of the people, like all all the other people. I live in the heart of not a huge city, but a growing city, and I live right in an inner city area. I'm in townhouses, so there's probably over 150 people that live on my block. So I always feel people around me, and I envision this web, this network of people. And in this particular meditation and many other subsequent meditations, I would feel my light blaze brighter. And as mine blazed brighter, I noticed these other connecting ones, these other ones of in the web that are like were points of connection. They blazed brighter, and we all got a little brighter, and the path became a little more clear. And that was when it came to me. I was like, we're like path blazers or pathfinders or path walkers. So that's the story of where Pathwalkers came from. I have these two images up on the screen because these also both mean something to me. So, and they both spark a different story. So I'll tell you the story of each of these images. The first image, and all of them relate to my own awakening journey. When I first started this process, I realized really quickly that what I was not doing was taking care of myself. I was not taking care of myself. I allowed everyone's needs to come before my own, always. And it was my way of controlling and managing my anxiety, right? Because if everything was under control around me, classic codependence, then there was nothing that I would have to worry about. The funny part of that is, it is all in your control and you're creating the chaos. So, anyway, long story. So, I decided that I needed to start taking silent retreats. I started by going on a silent retreat that another person created for a group of women. And I found that to be really stressful, actually, experience because this retreat was created by this woman who had her beliefs around what a silent retreat looked like, what a successful, spiritual, productive silent retreat looked like. And I could not sit without moving and fidgeting and fussing in the group meditations. And there were 5 of them throughout the day, and they were an hour and a half long. And I could not sit through them. And I actually am fine sitting in meditation for long periods. I regularly meditate for 1 to 3 hours a day, if not more, for certain periods of time, depending on what it is that I'm accomplishing or what's going on, how the energies are. But in this group of women where none of them, except for I think 2, there were 14, I believe, women. I could be wrong about that number, but and only 2 of them had ever been in silence before, and none of the rest had ever experienced silence in their life. I practiced silence with regularity before I got married. It was it was a practice. At least every day I had a few hours of silence, and I would take a day. One of my days off was spent totally in silence, and that's been a life practice for many years, since my early 20s. So it was, for me, as I'm sitting there, I could just feel everything coming out of these women as they're having their first experience of this. And we're not allowed to make eye contact, and we're not allowed to impose upon each other. And my gifts were just starting to awaken as I was in my awakening process, starting to train with my teacher. So I found that it was not a successful pairing for me. It was a 4-day silent retreat. I loved the length of time. I did not love that I was in somebody else's idea of a silent retreat. So I started questing and seeking my own place to do that. And this was this place in the ocean picture is it's a little cove right down in a place called Charleston in southern Oregon on the coastline. It's outside of Coos Bay. It's on this little peninsula of land that comes up, creating Coos Bay. So I found this place, and I love this place. It's one of my favorite places to come. When I've been there about 3 times now. Yes, 3 times. And I've seen whales, I've seen seals, I've seen orca. It is so powerful. And I went there. I hadn't been into this area at all yet. I was exploring on this particular day, and uh, I had my guitar in my bag on my back, and I had a pound of tuna fish that was freshly smoked and caught the night before, and then smoked, and I bought it that morning. And I had a baguette of bread, and I had some tomatoes and some lettuce, and I was set. You know, I felt I was ready to go. I as I walked down the path, I found this spot where the trees, um, they would grow along the ground and then come up and out after they found sun because it was so dense, the trees. And it was really hot that day. It was like over 100, I think. It was a really hot, hot summer day. And I found this spot where I could just sit on this moss padded tree right there in this little nook, right on this cliff that looked down. It was about 100-foot drop down to the little inlet below that was filling with water. So I watched it actually go from completely empty to completely full through the course of a day, in meditation, coming in and out, playing my guitar. Where I was at the end of a little trail, so sometimes people would pop through and they're like, "Oh, we were wondering where the music was coming from." Or, "Oh, I had no idea somebody was here," because I was in silence at the point. It was a powerful day for me because I had just received my first attunement to Asut, an Egyptian goddess connected with water. And I had such a deep connection for all 4 of those days. I meditated at different parts of the ocean, different places along the coastline there. And I felt so many different energies, and I felt so much sadness in the water and sadness in the town in that day. And I remember it was one of those times where when I felt into that web that you'll probably hear me talk about a lot. Uh, it just felt sad, and so I just started to try and fill it with joy, just pure joy. That joy that source feels the moment you reconnect for the first time, second time, where you feel your oneness. And I just kept spreading that out and spreading that out. And as I reached out further, I started to feel like a concentration of joy. And it got stronger and stronger, and it just grew so big. And then I heard some people came by at that point, and they asked me if I was going to be playing in the music festival. And I said, "What? A music festival? There's a music festival?" And it turned out there was a music festival just on the other side of the little peninsula, just right around the head and down on the other side of it. And I was feeling that joy of all that music and just amplifying it and spreading it out in whatever way I could. I guess my point in that story is to remember that even in the moment, you can tap into and amplify and spread out just the most purest of intention. And it's, I think that's how we're all gonna just heal each other and heal the world. So that's the story of this bay picture. This was a place for me that really, like, I just had a lot of very profound revelation. The other picture is Mount Hood from, let's see, I guess we would be on the southeastern side. It's at Mount Hood Meadows, looking up at the summit. I took a picture of this mountain because on this particular day, another day where I was sitting on the sun porch with my guitar while my husband and son were snowboarding, um, it was a powerful day. My husband, I talk about him a lot in um, the Crystal Cocoon, my previous show, and um, he's one of those people that's just really amazing. You know, he was a mountain climber and a snowboarder and just one of those athletes that it wasn't enough to just do something, but you gotta excel at it. That was his motto in life. So He lost his vision in a mountain climbing accident in 2001, about a year before we met, and it changed his world, obviously. He kept his job working as an engineer for Intel, um, but he also grew and developed as a civic-minded person. He's a commissioner and now the chair for the Oregon Commission for the Blind. I'm going to brag about you if you're listening to this. He's testified before the Congressional Committee for the ADA, talking about how the that law has enabled him to maintain his status in a work environment that wasn't prepared or set up at all to accommodate a blind engineer. Um, Uh, he's done so many things in so many amazing ways, but what he hadn't regained was his passion for the mountains. And the mountains are as much of a passion for him as the oceans are for me. And this was the first day he got to go up with his son and go snowboarding. So it was a really powerful day. And throughout the day, I would just tap into them and kind of feel where they're at. And it was a beautiful day. And the biggest part of my journey is my family. One of the things that happens when we go on this awakening journey, I see a lot of families break up. I see a lot of divorce and families break up anyway. And this is in no way a judgment. If a relationship is unhealthy and both partners are not 100% engaged in whatever work is necessary to make that relationship grow and become a healthier environment, then it's I understand completely why people leave. My heart still breaks for the family that isn't able to continue in that way. But I've seen many amazing families grow from that. So I forget where I was going. Oh yes. So in my healing journey, for me, it's always been critical to spend as much time healing my family, healing the wounds that we have inflicted on each other, that we have experienced from others, to keep myself in pace with them. I view my husband like my anchor, and my son is like the bungee, stretchy tether that keeps all of us connected. And I'm like the parasail. So I pull us along, and he keeps us, okay, wait, Jesse, let's check this out. Let's pay attention. So in this instance, he was the parasail, and I just got to be an anchor, and it was a really beautiful time in my family. So this is a picture of me in solitude and a picture of me supporting my family. All right. So I I'm not used to talking like this by myself. I've done a few short videos and meditations, and I'm gonna just try and I wrote a few little notes of stories that I thought might be fun to share. Stories that people enjoy hearing. So one of the first times that I really realized that I was awakening. Now, I grew up in a family where there was um, a lot of spiritual energy and attention, and a really liberal environment for exploring religion and different ways of practicing religion. So I really am grateful for that. My mother was very explorative and intuitive and psychic. Um, so I wasn't a stranger to that sort of thing, but I had kind of dismissed all of it for what I could measure, what I could touch, what I could taste, what I could feel, what I could measure, and I had shut my gifts down. But I was always having experiences with things like ghosts. I knew that ghosts were visiting me I knew that there were energies around me. Um, I believed in aliens. I had no doubt. We had stories from my childhood of that, which I'll probably tell along the way at other points. I wasn't a total stranger, but my actual awakening, where I was like, "Oh, it's real," um, happened when I was doing a lot of research on aliens, and there used to be a page called ARH or ARR, Aliens Are Real. I can't remember, AAR. And it was a pretty big page for a while on Facebook, and it was all about, people sharing different, personal encounters or clips they saw. And I would post things and I'd post comments. And so one of the women who was an admin on the page contacted me and asked if I would be interested in being an admin. And at the time I was like, oh, well, I'm just researching. I don't know. Who am I to say anything on here? And she's like, well, you're a medium, and you're in contact with them. And I was like, what? And she gave me, and she was kind of shocked that I was unaware of this. And she gave me an instruction. She told me to sleep with some labradorite, which I wear often. In fact, I'm wearing it today. This is one piece of my labradorite, not the one I was wearing at the time. But I was wearing this piece of labradorite, which it was 3 circles, going 1, 2, 3, and they were concentric. They were getting smaller, gradiated circles, going smaller down, and it was pretty big. Actually, Hannah Neal has it now, so maybe someday we'll get a picture of it. Anyway, I slept with that, and I did the exercise, which I now recognize was a lucid dreaming technique, initiating lucid dreaming, so this was my first time lucid dreaming. And I went to this ship. I found myself on this ship, and it was not like our ships are. It was more smooth walled, but still like halls and halls and rooms and sliding doors. Or actually, I don't remember that. I don't remember the doors, but there were pathways going another ways. And it was all dark except for where we were going. There was just kind of a glow that followed us. So you never really saw much more beyond that. But I could hear the sounds of people and the ship, and I knew we weren't alone there, and it was bigger than this space. So anyway, we came into this room, and it was this great big open round glass room, and people were standing all the way around in it. And it wasn't like they were standing on a platform, but kind of more like in a stadium kind of a way. But it was so hard to describe. They were everywhere. And there were so many people. And I can't tell you what any one person looked like, but they all looked like familiar to me, family. So as I came into this room, sorry, I'd hardly ever tell the story, so it makes me feel a little shivery. As we came into this room, everybody just started smiling and cheering and like welcoming me home, and they were all so happy to see me. And I felt like overwhelming joy and overwhelming sense of connection, um, support and love. And it felt like a homecoming I've never felt before. So I woke up the next morning, and I just could feel the realness of that experience. I could feel it in my heart. I could still feel connected to them. I could close my eyes and let my consciousness slip back down the line. And I didn't even know what I was doing, but now I have the words to describe it. Slip back down that line of connection to the experience, that time and place and the experience, and feel it all over again. But I knew that it was real, it was tangible. I had that dream a few more times, um, in different ways, going into the ship. Um, I also had different kinds of memories of doing work with those people in smaller teams on other ships. And that became one of my ways of recognizing if I wanted to work with somebody, if they were on a similar path to me, if they were in a reality that was in a harmonic vibration with mine, if they had some sort of dream like that, or if they had an idea of what that dream was. I was like, yep, you get it. Let me hear your dream story. So that's one of my one of my really early kind of awakening stories. After that, I started to do a lot more dream traveling, a lot more lucid dreaming. I had a friend who I have a friend who is a Buddhist monk in Sri Lanka, and I used to go and observe, experience him teaching Dharma class to children, a group of children, which is, a class about basically the laws and tenets of Buddhism. Uh, and that was really an amazing experience. He was like this kind of orange, glowing flame in the middle of this open courtyard in this ancient temple in this jungle, this island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And they were all these little points of like almost iridescent white light all around him. These just as bright, but smaller. And after I had my first, travel of that, I started looking through his page, and I asked him at some of his photos, I was like, is this your temple? Is this the temple where you're at now? And he was like, yeah. And I had him take some more pictures, and it was exactly the place I was seeing. And so I began to again know it was real. Which kind of leads me into the last little story that I'm going to tell in this episode, because I'm sure there's going to be other times where people cancel or people get sick or whatever happens, and I'll decide, well, maybe it's time for a Jesse episode. So this kind of leads me into my next story. When I realized I could, in my sleep, direct my travel, I could also release it and go wherever I was needed, which I do often now, but that I could direct it and that I could go explore while I'm sleeping, which kind of left for some restless nights, but we've got through it. um, I started going to the ocean a lot of time in the ocean. My two favorite creatures are whales, in particular humpback and blue whales, and cephalopods. I love cephalopods. I love cuttlefish. I love octopus, squid. They kind of scare me, but they fascinate and intrigue me at the same time. They're this gelatinous being that's really quite smart, quite amazing. Anyway, so I would go and I spend a lot of time with those two. I spent a lot of time with an octopus in particular, and with a mother whale and her calf. And it's really been a powerful, for me, powerful experience, especially when I was first awakening. I learned a lot, and laying there with those, in their movement, in their own communication, in their own communing. And it was very beautiful. But the story that I'm sharing, I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of background, was that I was in the shower, and I like to have a short meditation in the shower. I know it's not the best. We're not in a water conservation state. We're not drought, and we pay for it. So I was in a meditation in the shower, and I had just been really internalizing and conceptualizing the idea that my thought, my intention sets the vibration, which allows allows my DNA to either stay or shift, and that I can consciously shift my DNA to tell my cells to assemble in a different way. So I was in this deep meditation and in my shower, and as I'm doing it, I'm kind of thinking of different things, and I was thinking first I thought of a bee, a bumblebee, and I was like, oh, what it would be to be a bee, and I felt in my mind I felt like I was like shrinking, coming down. And then I thought, oh, or a cat. And I kind of like felt this kind of popping sensation in my body as it started to shift. And but then I was like, ooh, or a dolphin, or a whale. And suddenly I felt so big. I felt like I was bigger than my entire bathroom. I felt like I was all curled up in my bathtub, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to break the house. And I really believed it in this moment. And I would, small, anything small, be a mouse, be a mouse. And then I shrunk down in my mind. And then, like, I came to, I felt like I was out of breath, and I felt really rattled. And I realized, oh, you got to be careful when you manifest and what you let yourself just freely think of. And was I a whale? No, of course not. But what if? Okay, so those are my stories that I thought I would share with you today. I'll close out by saying that I really am excited about what this Tales from the Path and Healing Pathwalkers is really growing into. My vision is that it'll become a village, a community, a space where we all can come and tell our stories, a space where we can share meditations, a space where we can write our ideas and share them, where we can research together, where we can play music together, where we can listen to music together. Speaking of music, I'm just going to give a little shout out. The music that we were listening to earlier today is from one of my favorite musicians, and it's not just because I actually know him personally for a long time. Carlos Severe Marcelin. He's an amazing musician. He's who this intro and outro music, it's from his album Transformations, Emotional Deconstruction, which I just love that. And this song is called Joy. And I was told that my job is to bring more joy into the world. So on that, I'm just going to say, go to the website and check out what we're doing. We have some classes that you can drop into. There's also recorded classes from the previous session, from this spring session we're about to wrap up. Soon I'll be launching our summer schedule, and I'll make sure I post it around so you guys can see. We'll be offering a lot of new classes. Excuse me, I'm clearing things because I'm not very good at spelling. We're going to be offering classes like my Life Compass class. That's basically the whole point of that class is to teach you how to use how to connect to your own guidance, how to feel energy, and how to use it. How to be guided in your work for yourself, so you don't have to keep going to other healers or other psychics or other readers. You can really get your own guidance, and it's a great way to see your filters. I'm not saying other people can't help too, because that's invaluable, and I love all the reads that I receive. Thank you, everybody. So helpful for my path. The Life Compass class. There'll also be a Let It Flow class, where it's really about how to allow energy to flow and how to make your healing work on yourself more effective, more powerful, your energy work more powerful, by basically removing your belief system that inhibits you. So it's teaching you how to flow energy more successfully. These are tools, both of these classes are designed to teach you energy work without modality and without religion, without dogma. I'm not here to teach about dogma. I find dogma fascinating. It's a very interesting cultural exploration. And I do find that there's some amazing energy work going on in the church, in Islam, in Judaism. When I listen to Arabic, I'm moved beyond words. I have fascinating conversations with religious leaders in all of these different religions. And this is not a discount in any way of their work. This is simply an acceptance that you don't have to follow in these systems, in these old belief systems that have grown and have overgrown the true message, which is we all are a piece of source here experiencing from our perspective. So source can know itself from this view. And it is owning that that's our path, and remembering our oneness back with God to bring that information back. That is, to me, my dogma. So I try not to teach my dogma or anyone else's. I just teach you how to flow energy, flow the energy of collective consciousness, of source consciousness, of God, whatever you want to call it, whether it's through your intention, through your palms, however, we use a lot of different tools. So those are my two classes. I'll also be teaching two workshops, Take the Whatha Out of Chakra, and a two-part workshop called Breaking Through Your Mirrors, which is all Take the Whatha Out of Chakras. This is not about learning, again, not about learning the dogma around chakras. This is just about learning what the energy represents in your body, what kind of vibrations does it represent, and how best to tune your body, how to treat your body physiologically, intentionally, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically in order to optimize these energy centers that you have in your body that we call chakras. So that's Take the Whatha Out of Chakra. And then Breaking Through Your Mirrors is really about how to use the mirroring system, how to use that system to really deepen your own personal work and your own growth so that you can stop being controlled by beliefs, unconscious belief systems, and start being empowered and in control of what's presently in front of you, not reactive of a past or anxious of a future, but presently reactive, presently in the space where I can see what's in front of me and I can work on it. We are also going to have an amazing class offered by one of my students, longtime students, Shauna Smith, and she is an angel communicator and reader and just an amazing individual. And she really works from the heart. So she's going to be teaching an introduction to heart-based healing class that I'm super excited to hear. I can't wait to see what she's pulled together for you guys. We'll have some either workshops or classes doodling with Sandy of some sort. Sandy is a hypnotherapist and art therapy healer. She's amazing. I love her work. And we have a rock hound, an orgone generator maker who's going to do some material science classes. So Summer Term at Healing Pathwalkers is going to have a lot of opportunity, a lot of growth, lots of stuff going on. Keep your eye out. Every Tuesday night is a free energy play online. You can show up any Tuesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific. And I think that's about it. That's Healing Pathwalkers. So I love that you're in our community. I love that you're taking the time to watch this video. I hope you see the next episode. I'm super excited. It's going to be with Jean Ellis, and she has been working in this field for 20 plus years. She runs, she's done yoga, she does dance, and she does heart-based healing and Reiki, and the list just goes on and on. She's very amazing woman. I'm super excited for you guys to meet her. And that is all. So I can't think of anything else that I need to say, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off and say subscribe to the channel if you like it, and it'll let you know when I post new videos, new episodes, new whatever. And gosh, have a great night. Enjoy.